If you watch crypto on a weekly basis, kind of like I do, you know the last week was a bit of a red week for crypto. Bitcoin's down, Ethereum's down, ERG is down, all on their USD pairs. And today I just want to look at the things I'm looking at for the ERG USD pair on TradingView. If you're more of a holder like me, I'm not really a trader, but I like to look at charts. So I want to show you some charts that I'm looking at, some things I'm looking at with some moving averages and the RSI, and you can copy them on your own if you want to keep up with the ERG as well. So about 2 weeks ago, well, about 7 days ago, we had a huge run up in ERG all the way up to about $2, but intraday trading volume was getting it to about $2.30. Right now, we've dropped down to about 165, 170, 180, that range sort of. So I want to look at some technical levels and the 200-day moving average, the 50-day moving average, and the RSI. We're going to look at the daily chart here on TradingView. I personally like looking at daily and weekly charts. I know some people with smaller tokens like ERG and to the Ergo blockchain like to look at like 4 hour, 12 hour, different time frames like that. But I really don't like going below daily. Ergo has enough history on the chart that the daily will be sufficient. And I just like to look at things on a daily time frame because it makes sense in my head. Like what's going on this day? What's going on this day? Are we up today? Are we down today? With that being said, the first thing I want to jump into is our moving averages. You can see here on the screen, we have, this is the big run up that we talked about in last week's video. I think we were sitting here or here, and we were talking about how these moving averages are probably going to kind of like swoop under. And we didn't really draw on the technical levels, but it was noted that we were rising and that the green candles were eventually going to have to be red at some point because you can't go up indefinitely. So that's what we were talking about last week in this video, our weekly installment of an Ergo trading video. And over the past 7 days, when I haven't done a video, you can see we consolidated, digested this huge move, and then broke below. This was technically like a confirmation of that $2 support, but then it ended up breaking down here. So this is what we're going to talk about today. We have our 200-day simple moving average here in orange, our 50-day simple moving average here in blue, and we can see that these are converging here probably somewhere around this $1.63 level, but currently we are bouncing off of the 200-day simple moving average. Last week, we also talked about how the RSI was getting majorly oversold for Ergo as it was pumping through all these green candles day after day. We can see that right now we are back to the median of the RSI at around 50 on the RSI. And it looks like we're kind of using that 50 as a little support here. So we kind of bounced up, bounced down, bounced up, bounced down. And I wouldn't be surprised of two things. I wouldn't be surprised if our RSI moves back up to test the RSI moving average. I also wouldn't be surprised if the RSI went back to the oversold level again eventually, as maybe like the 200 and the 50 all converge kind of at this $1.63 level and just kind of waits out and sits in like an accumulation zone here. That would make the RSI get oversold. So in that scenario, the moving average come down again, and I would not be surprised if over the next week or two the moving average fell down, the RSI fell down, and the RSI, the purple line, crossed back over the yellow. That's really what you want to happen for bullish sentiment, is to have the RSI cross over the RSI moving average to signal that uptrend momentum. So one thing I'm really watching here is this $1.63 level. This is what I'll be watching this week because it is our current support. Also, it is not our only current support, but we have the 200-day simple moving average coming in, the 50-day simple moving average coming in, and it looks like somewhere around May 1, May 1 would be right here. So somewhere around May 1, you can kind of see all three of these things converge together. And it is a very, very solid level of support. When you have multiple things playing into one another, it makes either support or resistance more so true. Okay. So these trend lines can kind of be broken kind of like this, like nothing really stopped the 177 level, right? Even though in the past it has, but this time it didn't. So when you have all these three things diverging together, it kind of boasts for a more true sentiment. What I think will probably happen in the next week is that all these things will kind of converge in here to this $1.63 level. ERG will sit in this $1.77 to $1.63 channel, but I think it will continue to come downwards probably and accumulate lower and lower and lower. And then we'll have to kind of reassess as all these things happen to see if ERG is going to break downwards or upwards. I think that break is not, my guess is that we will accumulate like that, but I cannot tell you if we're going to break upwards or downwards. That's the key of trading. I think for something like that, you'd have to look more at like the Bitcoin chart or what the US markets and Euro markets are doing. What's happening in the bigger picture? I don't really think that personally that the that ERG will drop below the 163 level. If it does, we'll probably get to this 50-day moving average and then maybe the $1.52 level. But I personally don't see that happening. It doesn't feel like it wants to happen. I think Bitcoin would have to break down a lot more for that to happen. And I'm going to actually show you the Bitcoin chart here in a second of why I think there's probably a little bullishness before more breaking down. It's kind of in line with what I've seen other people see as well. So this is our overall Ergo chart. And you can just kind of see, you know, we've been up and down and up and down and up. And now we're just in a down cycle, a down section on the RSI. We're going to go red for a little bit. I don't think it's a bad thing. Our lows are still kind of around that $1.10. So I don't think there's any reason for us to go test new lows right now. That's why I don't really think this $1.52 level's in play. But these are my current levels: $1.77, $1.63. $2 would be on the upside. But I think we'll probably sit between this channel kind of here for the next week. And then in our next video, hopefully the 200, the 50, and this $1.63 level have merged. Ergo's using it as support. And then hopefully we can kind of analyze and see, is it going to break upwards and keep it as support, or will it break downwards for, you know, and flip it over to resistance? So I want to take a second to show you the Bitcoin chart and just kind of what's going on there, just because it does play into Ergo. Ergo is a smaller blockchain. It is heavily manipulated by the market, whether that be the US market, the Euro market, the overall crypto market like Bitcoin and the total crypto market cap. But you can see here we had our 69,000, and this was the level that Bitcoin was kind of pushing up as resistance, trying to flip it to support, that 30,500. Gareth Soloway talks a lot about this level right now. And this, he thinks, is if we flip this level, that is a huge bullish indicator. We were not able to. We broke downwards, coming right into the 50-day. But I personally probably think that what we're looking at here is possibly a little further downside to at least the 25,000 level. I think probably we'll have what's considered like a bullish or like kind of like a uptrend. So we'll get like a little uptrend channel. But in this overall bear trajectory here, this is a downward trajectory. We'll have a little uptrend and then a break below the 50. Okay. So that's because of that. I think, you know, Ergo has taken a hit. It might take more of a hit. Also, you know, you see Bitcoin coming down the RSI and it will get oversold. And as it gets oversold, it has to come up a little bit probably to balance these out before maybe rejecting off the RSI moving average and coming down to 25,300, which is this level right here. And then, you know, from there, we can assess what'll happen in the weeks after. But that's basically my analysis on Ergo. Last week was interesting, but not a whole lot changed. We haven't broken a huge moving average. The moving averages are converging. We basically digested that whole big move and then kind of erased it in the digestion process. And that's probably because, you know, like right here, we can see in this past big up move that we had like a month or two ago, the moving averages caught up with it. The 50-day caught up with it. And that's where, you know, it accumulated to that point. This could have happened here. It could have, you know, taken $2 and accumulated while the 200 and the 50 accumulated, like came up and met it. Then it could break down or upwards. That's just not what happened. That's not something we can really guess. We just see it as we go. And I think now we'll probably kind of accumulate on this 200 over the next week. And I would expect us kind of like May 1st to see what's going to happen from there. All right. Hopefully you liked the video and you can follow along at home. I use free trading views, so you should be able to do all this yourself. Let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen with the price action if you're trading Ergo or holding Ergo and like to watch charts like me. Other than that, hope everyone has a great week coming up, and we'll see you next week in the next Ergo trading video.